All right, welcome everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and this is your Saturday show where we get to talk about things that are happening in tech. Take this little stage that we've got here, and we're able to talk to you. And you're free to ask questions and seek some guidance during the program today. You can call 330-729-9977, or you could text me at 333-1570. Some cool news about the residential services. We're going to be extending and getting back into services that pre-pandemic were related, and what we used to specialize in. We did a lot of field work, we did a lot of bench work, and so that we're going to get back to sort of our old model. We've got a new guy starting over on residential services. His name is Devin. And he will be fielding out a lot of my bench work. He'll be going into the field. So you will probably meet Devin along the way because, like I said, getting back to the old deal, one of our policies was a lot of computer issues, a lot of the things that would require a phone call to us are environmental factors or environmental problems. So when you take your computer out of the environment, you basically remove it from potentially one of the problems or the problem. And so we get it back to our bench and it's not behaving the way it was when it was back in the environment. And it's sometimes a little bit difficult to figure out, what's happening. And a majority, I would say greater than 50% are, you need your computer to work and it's not working and you can't figure out why. There are tons of resources to try to DIY it or figure it out yourself. And if you can watch a YouTube video, put in the problem that you're having, I bet you can field out a lot of the stuff on your own. But when you can't, that's when it gets to be that there were too many variables or there were other things involved. And so, calling us, we were able to come out to you, fix it as it's in an environment. And only if it's not an environmental factor, then we can bring it back to our office and we could fix it that way. So really the stuff that got elevated to that deal was not your, stuff that you could just field from a remote session or over the phone or whatever. It was usually too complicated to do in that capacity. So again, that's something to come over the next couple of weeks as Devin's going to take he's starting on this Thursday. So by the end of this week, he'll be getting his Youngstown computer training and find out, where the field appointments that he's going to be taking on right away. So that's from the service end of Youngstown Computer. And I'll talk a little bit about it when we do our commercial spot here at the bottom of this hour. So stay tuned for more about Devin and Youngstown Computer stuff. But right off the bat, I wanted to kick it up and make that announcement. And so a lot of stuff happening on the SpaceX front. You guys know that I'm a big Elon Musk fan. I follow Tesla, SpaceX, neural net, all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that are happening in the advances of space travel is that we have Starship that's going to be reemerging from sort of like it's been kind of dormant over the last couple of months, haven't seen much away. We have serial number 20, which is the 20th revision of what was originally Starhopper that became Starship. And they're going to be doing some lead-ins to Mars travel. And I know it sounds crazy. Everybody I talk to about Mars travel doesn't know what to think of it. The why behind why would we be so dead set on going to Mars? Like what practical use for traveling interstellar or interplanetary could it be for the advances of science or humanity, right? And the reason I'm following this so intently is that, what we're going to discover is Mars is not a very hospitable place, but it sort of like poses in two things. Number one, it's close enough that if we're going to make a trial at something, it would be a really good target. And number two, that we can do to a point where we can experiment with terraforming and changing complete climates and environments, right? And so if we're going to go to a place that on the scale of complexity, I'm going to say that it represents, Earth is a 10, right? It's a supermodel. And, the Mars, it does have atmosphere, right? So I would say if Mars is a 5, like it's a solid 5. And so it's complicated in ways that you just can't storm around there and run around and not die. right? And it's dangerous. The air is dangerous. The radiations, because of the how the atmosphere is, the climate, the winds, the storms, all of that makes it a solid 5. But it's got foundation where it probably had water at one time, and had it has ice that is buried in the the crust, right? And so we can do some things there. So from again, back to the practical. Well, what the heck do you do with that? Well, this is people that are going to practice going and making colonization of different planets. Early on in civilizations, we colonized continents, right? Before that, we colonized islands and, different portions of the continents. So this is just the next logical step up in humanity's colonization of planets, and then solar systems, and then universes, and so on and so forth. I think it's the next level up. Now, if you're looking in terms of like, are we going to get Velcro out of this? Probably not. It's probably a little bit better than that. I mean, those of you who follow the environmental sciences know that, when we make a mess behind us, and either in our climate or water or, whatever, we create too much garbage or gases or whatever. That's even at our worst dirtiness of what we've done to this planet is not as bad as what we're going to find on Mars, right? Will it ever get to the point where it's droughted to the point where there's no water? Well, what are you going to do about that? So I think a lot of our environmental sciences are going to, have a lot to gain by what we're capable of creating on an inhospitable planet. And then number 2, if let's just say we don't course correct and we end up, killing this planet and make it non-livable, well, we need to be able to jump planets because there's trillions of other ones out there and go somewhere else. And so I think that that when you say the practical side of that, that those are the most likely outcomes or likely advances. So why do billionaires decide that they want to hop to different planets? I mean, it's a new frontier. I think every billionaire, millionaire somebody has made has always tried to conquer another frontier for the legacy that means to their name over history. And these billionaires, I'm talking about Jeff Bezos and Sir whatever his name is, and then Elon Musk, they're drilling their money into this new conquest. And it was always been that way, and it will probably always forever be that way. And it's interesting to watch as we create sciences around really trying to overcome big mathematical and science obstacles. And do I know what the fallout's going to be? Do I know what the benefits are going to be? I don't, but man, it's exciting to watch people do smart things, especially when they have like risk factors that make it unlikely that it's going to succeed, and they succeed anyway. I mean, I watched Elon Musk blow up, rockets, right? Blow them up as in, I have $10 million in the bank, and everything on that launch pad represents the rest of what I have. If this is not successful, then I'm going to have to go find something else to do. Like, that's the risk that like inspires a guy like me, willing to put it all on red on something you believe in, even though this might mean, I mean, think about if you're sitting in the room watching your last dollar on the launching pad when the last 9 of them detonated, and how hard would you be breathing, or how much doubt would you have in your mind that this might be the end for you? I mean, that's just so inspiring, willing to do it anyway. So that's why the guy is sort of one of my business heroes. And I could see the criticism. I mean, there's fair amount of people who would like him to do other things with his money. I get that. But he's his own person, and he's, he made his, and he's going to do with what he wants. And I have respect for that. Anyway, so that's about SpaceX. We should see another launch as they do some static fire tests. But here's and I don't get political on this show, but the FCC, not the FCC, the what's it called? The guys that do the sky thing, FAA. There you go. Thank you, Dave. The FAA has sort of like, Elon Musk made them mad a little bit. He did a couple of launches without proper licensure and permission, and he blew a bunch of stuff up, and the FAA really doesn't like when you blow stuff up, and so they're increasingly making it more strict for SpaceX and Starlink to do these launches without having the advisement of someone in FAA. And so I think the holdup for the last couple is that, FAA said, hey, listen, we're not going to get licenses if you keep doing this to us, and we're not happy that you're doing it, and we might delay this a little bit until you get back on the right path. So while I hope the FAA isn't responsible for delaying this, because every minute in this industry is a long time, that I think that they need to keep it safe so that it doesn't get out of control. And I hope that's all they have in mind. I hope they're not going to try to stifle one competitor over another because of whatever reason. So hope that's the case. I did enter in to Tesla, their full self-driving beta program. Let me tell you a little about this. So it's kind of funny. So they have full self-driving. So eventually this is going to be an autonomous vehicle. Level 5 drives itself, can go and give drives away. Right now it is level 2. It is essentially a driver assistant. It's something that you can do cruise control, that can adapt to conditions. It can do lane changes. You can get on the freeway and it could pretty much drive itself from start to finish, changing lanes, following your GPS, slowing down, speeding up, evading cars and barrels and construction and all that kind of stuff. So freeways, it's pretty good. Well, the next version of it is allowing it to do that same kind of stuff, but doing it on city streets where there's much more activity. There's parked cars, there's people on bicycles, pets, and children running in the streets. And so they're working on how good the technology is at staying safe in those kind of areas. Well, they had about couple thousand people that were testing this out over the last couple years, and they're expanding the number of test candidates, because the more test candidates you have, the more people or the more information they can get, and then the faster they can get to the end. So really anybody who's a beta tester of this deal is a guinea pig to see how the stuff is. It's not going to be in its final form. You're going to get a rough version of it. You have to know its limitations, but if you're willing to, they'll allow you to come into their system. Well, I was one of those people who said, hey, I want to be a beta tester. This sounds like a good time, right? And so I put in last Friday, a button showed up in the car on the display panel. And if you push the button, you get to enter yourself as a candidate for the beta testing program. Now, part of that is saying that you will be willing to allow a safe driver program to evaluate all of your driving and then give you a score based on how you're driving, and that will get you into the beta program. If you're a good driver, you'll have a high score. If you're a bad driver, you'll have a low score, and chances are if you're a bad driver, you won't be invited into the beta program. I guess they got 300,000 people to join this beta queue. And so I started driving around, and I thought it was pretty easy, right? And then I started obsessing a little bit about how this thing was scoring me, and I started looking at what my scores were. And a lot of it was unfair. A lot of it was things that were out of my control. The sun blinded the camera, and it did an evasive maneuver to, disengage. And I was held accountable for that as a disengagement. That was one of the criteria of being a safe driver, is if the autopilot disengages, it was because of that corrective maneuver, and there wasn't anything there. It was just the sun. So I was like, well, that's not fair. And then there was another one where, hard braking or aggressive turning or, online or a collision avoidance. So all of these things were little strikes against you, and the more miles you drove, every bad thing that happened was diluted down to as many miles as you drove. And I drove a good bit of, I drove my regular stuff. I didn't do anything special, but I did turn a little slower than I normally would, and I adjusted my speed down a little bit slower than I normally would. I usually follow within 3 car lengths, and I dialed that back to 6 car lengths. I was a little bit safer in this, and I watched as my score kind of went down a little bit. I ended on Friday, which was the end of the 7 days, with a score of 98 out of 100, which in my case, I think that's, pretty good. But out of 300,000 people in this, they're going to basically take 1,000 people every day at the top tier of the scoring system. So what do you expect? Of the 300,000 people, if I'm a 98 and they're going to let 1,000 people in, how many days or months or years before I'm going to be a good enough driver in that class of credits or people in that queue that are going to be allowed into the program? I don't know. I don't think 98 is a high enough score. I bet you there's, every bit of 50,000 people with 100 score because they knew how to work the system. Anyway, 330-729-9977. Text me at 333-1570. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBM.
Unfortunately, many on social media bring more toxicity than togetherness.
The Democrats
They're toxic.
Thankfully, your original social media is still here.
We don't always agree on everything.
This is 570 WKBN.
Our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival, the ultimate once-in-a-lifetime music event, is coming to the CW.
It's been a year and a half.
The biggest superstars in music finally step back on stage.
Let's just have fun and dance and jump around, okay?
Featuring Coldplay, Billie Eilish, Dua Lipa, J. Cole, Khalid, Darius Rucker, Cheap Trick, Journey, and more.
The iHeartRadio Music Festival.
14 acts, one stage, one television network.
Watch tonight and tomorrow at 8 p.m. on WBCB, The Valley CW.
There are a lot of exciting things happening this fall. I want to focus on what's important, not what's for dinner. Luckily, HelloFresh delivers everything I need, and it's 30% cheaper than grocery shopping. The quick and easy recipes are perfect for weeknights. We're all busy, but with HelloFresh, I actually have time to enjoy my meals. Go to HelloFresh.com/DanaCortez14 and use code DanaCortez14 for up to 14 free meals plus free shipping. That's code DanaCortez14 for 14 free meals at HelloFresh.com/DanaCortez14.
People who are vaccinated are getting sick from COVID variants, and Americans have no end of questions and concerns. What we do know is that fever is the leading sign of COVID, so everyone needs an accurate thermometer. Exergen temporal scanner's accuracy is backed by more than 100 clinical studies, while non-contact devices have no supporting studies. Vaccines are not enough. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Exergen is changing.
Found a box for $25.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I'm Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and your host for this program, your Saturday show where we talk about things that are happening in tech. Led off with some Tesla, SpaceX stuff, but we can get into security. We can get into any of your questions you might have. 330-729-9977 is the phone number, as well as 333-1570 is the text number. So feel free to leave your word, and I'll read those on the program as the show goes on today. You can ask them there if you don't want to call. All right. So a little bit about Youngstown Computer. As I said, we're going to be setting up, getting back to the old structure. We are going to be operating on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at full tilt, right? And excluding this week, Monday, you can call and Nick will get you set up. He'll get something scheduled, but the bench will really start hitting its stride on Friday. And then setting up. So if you need to do something that's elective, like this is going to be a good week to blow out the cases, and this is really good work to come through the office. So what it is twice a year I recommend blowing out your computer cases, and this includes even laptops, any electronics that have an air intake on the back or bottom or whatever. If you see kind of like grid and you feel air movement, that's basically the air exchange that keeps your devices cool. And so twice a year, we make sure that those are cleaned out and cleared out, because if it pulls air through there, chances are it's pulling in dust and dirt and stuff like that. And that's the stuff that limits the life of the machine. And so what I recommend in computers, because it's basically just a box with a bunch of components in it, that you can open the box, use an air compressor, and just basically take the air compressor and move all of the dirt and dust out of there, and it'll cloud up, but you can basically use the air to wipe everything off, just with the air, not with an actual rag or anything, and get all of the surfaces blown off. So all of those chips and all of those grids that you see and all of those fans that you see, get them blown out really well. I will recommend this, that if you overspin the bearings on one of those fans, you can make it make noise. So I'd like to take something non-conductive and then put it, stop the fan blades from spinning while I'm doing it. So I'll take a piece of wood. So what works good is tongue depressors or something with wood, and then using that to stop the fan, and then taking air compressor or canned air and spraying it out really well. And if you do this regularly, it doesn't take all that long to do, because if you do it in the spring and fall, it's only been 6 months since you did it before, and it'll be really quick and easy. If you've never done it or it's been a while, then you're going to have to spend some extra time because it cakes on there pretty good. It layers itself and sticks to sometimes tar and stuff that's in the air, and sometimes a little bit harder to get removed. But you take this case off, don't overspin the fans, and just blanket everything with air to get it blown out. You're going to have an exhaust fan and an intake fan or intake grill. Make sure you clean those off pretty well too, because those also get all stuck up, and that's usually like the front and the back of the case. Now with laptops, they're a little bit harder to find out where the air comes in, and a lot of times it's on the underside is where the intake, and then it expels the air on the side. So you'll feel like a little bit of a separation on the bottom, and then you're going to have the fans blowing out one of the sides or the back. And so you're going to do the same thing there. Make sure you don't overspin the fans and blow it out pretty well. But a lot of the stuff that gets blocked up in the intake is going to be fibers, right? So you put your laptop on the bed and it's running, and it sucks in the fibers for whatever it's sitting on, either a couch or a chair or a bed or blanket or whatever. And then so a lot of times it's not dust that's really blocking up the intake, it's fibers that's blocking up the intake. And if you know fibers, it's stringy stuff, right? So it's not going to blow out easily. So I would take another, again, non-conductive deal, like maybe a toothpick, and try to unweave if you see any fibers that are in there. In order to get rid of the stuff that's really deep, you're going to have to take the enclosure apart and get to the inside and really pull that apart. But again, if you do this often, you're not going to have to do that, because you can basically take care of it before it gets really stuffed in there too much. But if you don't want to go through all that and you just want us to take care of it, twice a year, we run a cleanup special, $100. You bring it in, we blow it out. We make sure updates are run. We take a look at it, make sure there's not anything, bad going on there. And then we get a bunch of them on like Fridays and Saturdays and blown out and taken care of all at one time. So if you're interested in that, 330-259-7278 is the phone number. Call Youngstown Computer, hit option 1 for residential services. I think it's the one. Anyway, residential services, 330-259-7278 if you're interested in getting the blowout special for the end of this week. Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll be right back. This is the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN.
The job market is competitive right now, so you need to be competitive to attract top talent. If you are trying to fill open positions at your business, iHeartMedia is here to help. Use radio and digital targeting to find fresh, passive candidates currently in the workforce. These candidates are listening right now, looking for new opportunities. Together, we can let the community know you're hiring. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
A temporary mask mandate is in place for both junior and senior high school students in Salem beginning on Monday. The order will be revisited on October 15th. 27-year-old Samantha Strickland turned herself in yesterday on charges including child endangering. The charges come after her 1-year-old daughter overdosed on what authorities believe was fentanyl. Arturo Novoa, who killed and dismembered his girlfriend, 29-year-old Shannon Graves, back in 2017, will get a new sentencing hearing due to an error in Mahoning County Common Pleas Court regarding the current sentence. A man suspected of murdering his brother was given a $1 million bond. 49-year-old Larry Tarver is in the Mahoning County Jail, charged in the death of his 45-year-old brother, Telly Smith. Two people in East Liverpool face multiple drug charges. Ashley Durbin and Matthew Rutter were both arrested after an investigation led to fentanyl, heroin, and cash. From the Power Chevrolet Buick GMC of Calcutta, Ohio newsroom, I'm Dave Price.
And we have breaking news.
Keep up.
Breaking news.
Breaking news with what happens next.
Issue executive orders.
Push through his agenda.
On 570 WKDN. For your home or business, call Mazza's Heating and AC in Girard, 330-545-6063. Your factory authorized Bryant dealer. Now, the Storm Team 27 forecast.
Mostly sunny skies for your Saturday, high temperatures in the mid-70s. Overnight increase in clouds with rain showers starting up as we lead on into our Sunday. We're going to have widespread showers throughout the day and high temperatures in the low 70s. For the Storm Team 27 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Felicia Woody.
Job hunting? Fuel all your professional ambitions at Valorec Star. The world leader in premium tubular solutions is hiring inspectors, technicians, and more with great pay and benefits. Find all the available positions at ValorecJobsOnline.com. That's VALLOUREC.
The Ohio Lottery's Powerball jackpot is up to at least $620 million. That's $620 million. It's the sixth largest jackpot in Powerball history and has been rolling all summer with drawings every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Powerball jackpots grow faster and they're bigger than ever. Play today. And don't forget to grab some new Ohio Lottery scratch-off games too, with bigger games and more cash available than ever. There's something for everyone. Lottery players are subject to Ohio Laws and Commission regulations. Please play responsibly.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, then get ready to pay up. The IRS has giant private collection agencies actively tracking down folks who owe the IRS. So if you think dodging them was stressful in the past, it's going to get a whole lot tougher. Optima Tax Relief has this advice. Don't wait. Solve your tax problems now before it's too late. Optima Tax Relief works to stop the demand letters, stop the aggressive collection actions, and stop the IRS collectors from targeting you. Ask Optima about the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands, and nobody knows this program better than they do. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, and they get results, having resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Get a fresh start. Call today for your free consultation.
Call 800-909-8122. 800-909-8122. 800-909-8122.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Quiet, convenient, affordable. Westchester Square Apartments offer rental properties to fit every need and budget. Perfectly situated in Austintown, right next to Route 11. With luxury living close by at Westchester Executive Apartments. Even Westchester Commons, the perfect independent senior living facility. Be a good neighbor in a community of good neighbors. Westchester Square, Westchester Executive Apartments, and Westchester Commons. Find out more now at waldenmanagement.com.
Guys, Untuckit agrees it's finally time. Time to update our closets with new clothes we actually want to wear. Time to think about going back to the office or choosing a new way to work. Time to enjoy the best of fall, like long walks in the park and hot coffee on a brisk day. And that means it's time to look sharp and feel comfortable all day with Untuckit. Shirts designed to be worn untucked. Discover the perfect fitting shirt today at untuckit.com. Use promo code TIME for 20% off your first purchase at untuckit.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Youngstown Computer Show. I am Joe Danier, owner of Youngstown Computer, and your host for the Saturday show. Lets you talk about things happening in tech. Do a regular segment on scamming. In fact, on Thursdays, we run a segment on scam baiting. And what this is everybody gets those emails, text messages, and phone calls from scammers, and usually they're pretty blatant. Where you can figure out which ones are scams. And then some are really, really good. And they'll attach themselves sometimes to your searches where they'll find that somebody types in like Canon printer problem. And then they create a scam page that when you have a Canon printer problem that you get a tech support number that you think is Canon. And then they have an open door into trying to scam money from you. And most of it originates overseas where legally it's harder to touch the operations. But let me give you a couple of findings that we hit when we do our scam baiting session. So scam baiting, the goal, the way that we do it is I try to waste at least a half hour of the scammer's time. So keeping them occupied is my main goal. So keeping them on the line, keeping them talking, keeping them trying to do their thing is the objective, because when they're with me, they're not trying to take advantage of someone else. And if you have more people doing that, then you keep the scammers frustrated, because everybody that ends up calling them, or they calling into them, or answering the phones from them, are taking them for a ride. And then you just make it inefficient and time wasting, and then maybe they'll change their strategies. But there's a couple of instances that we come across that's worth noting, so that I could tell you, and then you can share it with other people. First off is that they set you up by hooking themselves to legitimate companies and legitimate transactions. So in this case, it was a AT&T overcharged you, right? An email that said your AT&T bill was $963. If this is incorrect, please call this number back. And if you're not thinking about it, you're like, oh my goodness, they're going to charge me $1,000. It's not correct. Let me put a stop to this right away. So your emotional injustice juices get flowing. And then you call up and say, how dare you, right? How dare you? It's not, I don't want billed for $1,000. And the person on the other line says, hold on one second. Let me connect you to customer service. And so what they do is they put you on hold for a second, and then it rings a couple times, and then a person asks, that says Yahoo billing, right? And you're like, yeah, I'm calling about the $900 on my bill. I'd like to have it reversed. And so the person on the phone says, can I have your name? Can I have this? Can I have this? And you're giving them the information. Well, guess who's still on the line? The scammer that called you, that got you to go on the line, connected you to legitimate Yahoo billing, but they're listening in on the phone call, so that they then can hear all of your security questions. They can hear all of your information. And guess what they're doing when they're sitting there listening? They're writing it all down. And of course, Yahoo's going to get on the line and say, yeah, you know what? You don't owe this money. I'm sorry. It must have been whatever. And you're like, oh, that was really strange. I didn't have this, and I got this number. And all along, all they were trying to do was get more information from you, so then they can call Yahoo and even get more information. Like, what could they get if they satisfied all the security questions that Yahoo's going to ask, and then they get more information even beyond that, billing and credit card and anything else that Yahoo would give away. So that's the in, is listen in and use your information, and maybe try it at other spots, maybe calling your bank and using the same stuff that you gave Yahoo, and being able to answer those questions. Because we're very we're very typical. Like, we all have the same thought process, right? So, when you're forced to make up a password, what do you go to? Things that you remember, like birthdays and addresses and phone numbers, right? We all do that. Or we'll put like password in with a variation of an uppercase letter. So if we're predictable in that way, then they need to know a little bit about you, and they know that you probably did that same thing on every website across the deal. Because what are you likely to do? Use the same password everywhere, or make a password up different than everywhere? Well, if they know your password for Yahoo, immediately I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to go to eBay, and I'm going to go to PayPal, and I'm going to go to all the banks, use your email address plus all that new stuff I just learned, and see how many places that I can get in. So the recommendation to keep yourself and people you care about safe is that don't do all those things. Don't make your same password and username at all locations, and don't fall victim to those phone numbers that you get in emails. Assume that every text message, email was authored by a bad guy, right? All of them are authored by a bad guy. If somebody emails you and says there's a problem, don't use the phone number that the bad guy gave you. Go to your own account and get the phone number that you know is legitimate. And that's really the number one saving grace is if you distrust all of the information that's given to you. I'm talking like from start of the email to the end, assume that all of it's fake. Now you could take the email in of itself and make it or make the email make you look at something. So maybe let's just see if I did get charged for something. Go check it out for yourself, but don't use the email for anything. So distrust it all, except for the fact that allow it to raise a flag, to check into it deeper, and then you can either yay or nay it. And if there is a true legitimate problem, then you're going to find it out when you go there anyway, and then you can take care of it without being, following a nasty link or a nasty email or a nasty phone number. And just imagine, just know, because this going into the season from now to the end of the year is like the best time where scammers just come out of the woodwork and try to take advantage of everybody. So tell everybody you care about, maybe in the aged groups, to be suspicious of things. I used to have people call me, and the saddest stories were when you have a lonely older person that just wanted someone to talk to and end up cozying up to somebody who was just trying to milk them. And it's just the worst, because these are the most despicable people on the planet. That's why we do our scam baiting, because I hate these people. I hate the fact that they're preying upon people who don't know something that they do. Like, even when they use the most unsophisticated strategies, they still get people. I talk to them regularly. After I tell them that I've been wasting their time for a half hour, I ask them, why do you do this? And the responses is that this is the opportunity I have. I make a lot of money doing it. Americans are stupid. They don't know any better. And we just have stupid people part with their money, right? There's no empathy. There's no care about the people that they're taking advantage of. They're taking tens of thousands and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars from people. One of the best scams, and this is another version of it that really works. You get an email, same thing. Hey, you're going to be, this is PayPal, and your account's going to get charged for $600. Somebody bought a firearm in your name. Is this legitimate? And you don't know what to do. I mean, did somebody buy a gun in my name and now it's charging to my account? Let me put a stop to it. So you call the number and say, hey, this is not good. I don't want this account. We got to cancel it. Like, you don't know where it's from, so you have to call the processor. So you're like, PayPal, what do I do? I want to cancel this. They're going to be buying a gun in my name. Let's do it. Let's get rid of it. So like, okay, we totally understand. We don't want a gun in your name. Let's get this canceled. Let me call my, our billing department to make sure it hasn't gone through and make sure we can cancel it. So they come back and say, okay, we were able to cancel the order, but the payment has already gone through. So what we're going to have to do is push the payment reversal. So you're not going to get the gun, but your account's going to get charged. So what we have to do is we have to put a payment request in there. So what they do is they take over your computer. Now, most of us at that point, no, you're not going to take over my computer. But let's just say we did take over your computer, and we're like, hey, we can't do anything from this end, but why don't we'll coach you through this? Why don't you log into your bank account, put your username and password in there, right? And okay, so you log into your bank account. Now, the first thing that comes up in your bank account is what your bank balance is. Now they see how much money that you have in the bank. And so what they'll do is they'll say, okay, well, let's look for the transaction. Okay, I don't see the transaction here. Let's do this. And then they black out your screen for a minute. And what they do is, while those screens blacked out, they actually take the page that you were just looking at, make a copy of it, and make it open up on your local computer. And what they'll do is they'll add an entry to the table that was showing you your balance, so that the new transaction pops up for $600, right? But what happens is they make a mistake. Well, they'll put the $600 transaction, but they'll make a mistake that when they were putting the refund through, they did a decimal points mistake, right? So they wanted to give you $600 back. They accidentally gave you $6,000 back. And now they're going to lose their job, and their kids aren't going to be able to eat. And what's going to go, you got to help me. Will you please send me back my $5,400? Because they saw what was in your account. They moved it a decimal place. So it's now you're sitting there thinking, okay, well, they made a mistake and they gave me back too much money. I see it's in my account, right? They're showing you, but what you're seeing isn't really your account. It's that copied version that's on your computer, and you really didn't have 6,000 even go through. That was text that they put in there, but it looks like it went through. So then you actually transfer money to them or send them legitimate money to them, and then the real transaction goes away and they hose you for $4,500. So that's the kind of stuff that they're able to do. They make it look like they gave you too much money, and then you give them that money back, but it wasn't real money. You give them a cashier's check, or you do a ACH transfer, or a money wire, or buy some gift cards and send it. So whatever version of it they use, but they hook you and they take advantage of you. And that's the kind of stuff that I absolutely hate about that group of people. Whoever coordinates it and enables these people just to take advantage of our senior citizens and just people who don't know any better. So warn everybody that happens, especially when it comes to tax time, Christmas, when everybody gets a little bit looser with their spending. These scammers come out of the woodwork to try to take advantage of it. So be be super careful. One thing I've really noticed lately too is that spoofing calls is really their MO. Okay, so you'll answer a phone call that not only looks like it's at a local exchange, a 330 exchange or a 724 exchange, but there'll actually be caller ID information that when you answer it, it looks like it's just a person or a business. And when I pick up the phone and I see that, and they start off and it's not who the caller ID said, that I'll say, you're spoofing this account and I would never in a million years do business with you. And they'll say something, oh, it must have been, it's a new number, so it must have been the last person, but they hang up on you pretty quick. But you can't even trust the caller ID because all of that stuff is so easily spoofed. And even the number that it's coming from, that number's not really coming from a local exchange. They're spoofing a local exchange and ending up on your phone. So you literally, I posted this on Facebook this morning that just because someone knocks at the door, you're not obligated to answer. You have to have a trust authority where if you're going to open the door, it's because you trust the person on the other side. And just because you're a rando that comes up to it does not mean that I'm going to be nice and kind and polite to you. In fact, if I look out and I recognize you, I'm probably going to pretend I'm not home and you're just going to go away because I don't owe the door opening to you. I don't know you. The way that you earn that is you come with some kind of authority. And that means that unsolicited means that I don't have to pick up the phone. I don't have to answer the door. I don't have to respond to the email. I don't have to respond to the text. And so, put that one in the bank and keep you and yours safe. Recently, I went through my inbox because I made it to like the 21,000 unread messages in my inbox. And I began to go through and try to eliminate a lot of the spam that comes into these boxes. And because eventually email becomes worthless if you receive so many illegitimate emails that you don't even feel like going through 200 emails to find the legitimate one. So you pretty much email then doesn't work for you. And so what I thought is that I haven't given you sort of the policy for managing spam. So chances are your spam management that's happening either through Gmail or Microsoft or whoever you subscribe to is already filtering out a lot of the more egregious spam messages, but there's still a lot that makes it through. And so I was looking through my inbox, and most of the ones that were in my inbox had an unsubscribe link attached to it, which means theoretically that you can unsubscribe from the mailings, and the person that's using the mailing software, you won't be on the list anymore, and then you'll gracefully get less emails in your inbox, right? Now, there's one obligation here. The obligation is that the person that's authoring the emails is following the rules. There are actually rules governing spam messages or unsolicited messages. So third parties can give you your mailings away and you can get on lists pretty easily, but most of them will give you the option to unsubscribe. So if you come across an email from a major retailer, if you follow the unsubscribe link at the bottom, chances are it's automated. It's going to come off of the subscription list and they're just going to disappear and they're not going to push the issue. But if you see a message from a retailer that you don't recognize, chances are their unsubscribe link is not going to really unsubscribe you. It's just going to let them know that you're a legitimate email, and you might even get more email from them. So the first version of unsubscribing, I almost feel halfway bad about it when I'm doing it because I'm taking legitimate people and I'm telling them not to send me emails anymore, and they're going to listen, right? And then I'm skipping the people that have an unsubscribe link, and I'm not following their unsubscribe link. I'm just adding their company name to my junk email rules, and then they're going to just get delivered to my junk email, and I'm going to en masse just delete them and dump them out of the inbox. That's the protocol for doing it. So I did both. I went through my inbox when I came across one that was legitimate that I didn't want to receive anymore. I hit the unsubscribe button, and then usually they'll fill in their email address for you, and you'll hit submit and it'll be gone. And then other times, like I said, I'll put a junk mail, and that is taken probably 50%. I've gone from, I wiped everything out down to 0, but the number of new messages that come in were about 800 a day, and it's down to about 400 a day. And a lot of those 800 would have gone to the junk mailbox already, but you can see that just those two strategies made some of them disappear altogether, which is what the intention was. But still, even 400 a day is too many. And I'd like to get that down to maybe, I don't know, 50 would be amazing. Because just think, you leave from town, you're gone for 10 days, and you have all of that to go through. There's some email that gets pushed way down the list, and email becomes unusable. So hopefully those strategies help you out managing your email and spam that comes in there. But anyway, we got one little segment coming back. When we come back from this break, I'll tell you a little bit about Youngstown Computer and ask you or to give you the numbers and contact information. You're listening to the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN. I'll be back.
Job hunting? Fuel all your professional ambitions at Valorex Star. The world leader in premium tubular solutions is hiring inspectors, technicians, and more with great pay and benefits. Find all the available positions at ValorexJobsOnline.com. That's VALLOUREC.
The pandemic's reminded us we live in a sea of airborne germs that can assault us with every breath. Your nose is the body's first line of defense by helping filter out allergens, bacteria, and viruses before they reach your lungs. But like any air filter, the more clogged up it gets, the less it works. So how do you clean your nose? I'm Martin Hoke, and I didn't invent nasal irrigation. The neti pot's been around thousands of years. But I did invent Navage to make cleaning your nose easy. Navage uses powered suction to flush out mucus and germs that cause congestion, or worse, can make you sick. Over 2 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier without drugs. Navage has over 70,000 online reviews averaging 4.7 stars because it works and it's easy to use. Go to Navage.com or find Navage at Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Now available with eucalyptus for a spa-like experience. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
The Ohio Lottery's Powerball jackpot is up to at least $620 million. That's $620 million. It's the sixth largest jackpot in Powerball history and has been rolling all summer with drawings every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Powerball jackpots grow faster and they're bigger than ever. Play today. And don't forget to grab some new Ohio Lottery scratch-off games too, with bigger games and more cash available than ever. There's something for everyone. Lottery players are subject to Ohio Laws and Commission regulations. Please play responsibly.
Good Risings. The Good Risings podcast is a collection of 6 mini shows curated to give you a daily shot of inspiration, motivation, humor, relationship advice, and even astrology. You can choose to listen to one or all of the daily Good Risings offerings available on our feed. It's the perfect daily practice for anyone looking to lead a more intentional, mindful, and inspired life. Listen to the Good Risings podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is final segment of the Youngstown Computer Show. As I mentioned, we'll be off next week. I'm going to go have some fun with the family up at Cedar Point. So we're going to take the camper up there and spend the weekend off the coast, Sandusky, off the coast of Lake Erie. That should be a blast. Anyway, so Youngstown Computer is coming back into residential services with a sort of like a highlight on field support where we can come out to you. Still, we're doing the general system cleanups where twice a year we reduce the cost so that you'll regularly come out and see us and do some of those preventative maintenance deals, as well as checking things over, making sure you have antivirus updates are happening, all the normal stuff that we recommend. And we've appreciated. Some of you have done that with us for as many years as we've asked. So 10 years of people doing the maintenance with us. And that's why we've continued doing residential services, because of the loyal people who have always supported us, through that. So if you're interested, you want to do a general system cleanup, or you're ready for a new computer, data transfer, all of that stuff, the phone number is 330-259-7278. Leave a message on the machine, or on the voicemail, and we'll get back to you on Monday and get something scheduled. Nick will be good about putting you on the calendar. Or if you just want to go to youngstowncomputer.com and get yourself scheduled, we have a scheduling manager that will allow you to pay for service and put your details in, pick your dates and time, and take it from there. So again, the phone number 330-259-7278 or youngstowncomputer.com. And you can, I'd appreciate it if you take our number down and write it on a sticky note and put it on the side of your computer, because sometime in the future you might not have the problem now, but sometime in the future may. And we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a call when that occurred. We've been doing computers since the early 2000s, and Youngstown Computer, I believe we launched it in 2008 is when most of my paperwork says we did our thing. We started off with residential services almost completely, It wasn't until 2010 till we started opening to the commercial services side, and that really, really took off. We have both sides of it pretty well covered now. Where if you have a company and maybe you're sized that you can't have a full-time IT person on staff, you can outsource sort of the IT necessities to us, and then we come in there on a regular basis and check backups and keep your servers going and making additions, new computers, the whole thing. It's a lot cheaper. I would say 1/3. You could do about 1/3 the cost of hiring somebody, and that way you're kept safe and you don't have to, break fix is the worst. Like you wait until something doesn't work and call a company in, because you're at a disadvantage then. So we'd appreciate it if you'd get with us and have us get put on maintaining your network and computers and on the commercial side. And then again, as always, on the residential side, we really appreciate when the need arises that you give us a chance at servicing. Like I said, data transfers, new computers, troubleshooting, installing printers, Wi-Fi, pretty much everything is on our menu. 330-259-7278. And keep, again, I like to, underscore when we see something happen in the field, we take those recommendations and we use that as sort of the protocol for the for the radio show here to tell you about what other people are hitting snags on. One of the biggest upgrades are still going to be solid state hard drives. The difference in performance between a traditional platter hard drive, traditional hard drive, and a solid state is just probably a factor of 10 times faster to get through disk access and booting up to the operating system. So it's one recommendation I will still make. And I know for the last year, it's been that the best dollar for dollar improvement that you can make is a solid state upgrade. And I believe we have 3 drives in stock that we could use to do a data transfer. So if you're in the market for something a little speedier, it can throw some new life back into your computer. So specify that when you leave a message with us that you'd like one of the solid state hard drive upgrades, and you can get a little bit faster, add to some performance. I appreciate all the text messages. Somebody said that what happens if the person knocking at your door is opportunity. So touche, Gail. Touche. That yes, sometimes when they knock at your door and you don't answer, that you didn't answer for opportunity. But anyway, most of the time, like I said, you knock, you don't deserve an opportunity unless you decide to open the door. All right, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. This has been the Youngstown Computer Show on 570 WKBN.